Monday, 3:47 p.m. My phone buzzes during a work meeting.
I'm in love with her, not you.
Not a call. Not even an apology. Just 11 words that ended 5 years and 11 seconds. I excused myself to the bathroom, threw up, then came back and finished my presentation because that's what women like us do, right? We hold it together even when we're falling apart. My name is Emily. I'm 30 years old. And I almost married a man who was practicing his vows with someone else. This is the story of how I didn't win. I just stopped playing a game I never signed up for. We met 5 years ago at a mutual friend's party. I was 25. He was everything I thought I wanted. Charming, confident, the kind of guy who made everyone in the room feel like they mattered. But when he talked to me, I felt like I was the only one who existed. That night, he spent hours making me laugh, telling me I was beautiful in a way that felt genuine, not forced. We exchanged numbers, and from that moment, my phone never stopped buzzing. Late-night texts, random quotes, little notes about how he thought of me all day, how he couldn't wait to see me again. You're my dream girl. We're meant to be together. I can't wait to build a life with you. I didn't know it then, but this is textbook love bombing, and it's designed to make you addicted. He didn't just love bomb me with affection, he love bombed me with plans.
When we get married, when we have kids, when we buy our house.
He painted a future so vivid I could see the wallpaper in our imaginary kitchen. I didn't know that talking about forever is free, but building forever requires showing up, and he never planned to. Our early days felt like a total fairy tale. Long walks by Lake Michigan, dinners that stretched late into the night. He made sure I felt valued, wanted, cherished. He told me I was beautiful, smart, funny, everything I had ever wanted to hear. I genuinely thought I had found the one. But looking back, I ignored the red flags that were practically waving in my face. He chose every restaurant, every movie, every friend we hung out with. When I'd suggest something, he'd shut it down real quick.
When we get married, when we have kids, when we buy our house.
He painted a future so vivid I could see the wallpaper in our imaginary kitchen. I didn't know that talking about forever is free, but building forever requires showing up, and he never planned to. Our early days felt like a total fairy tale. Long walks by Lake Michigan, dinners that stretched late into the night. He made sure I felt valued, wanted, cherished. He told me I was beautiful, smart, funny, everything I had ever wanted to hear. I genuinely thought I had found the one. But looking back, I ignored the red flags that were practically waving in my face. He chose every restaurant, every movie, every friend we hung out with. When I'd suggest something, he'd shut it down real quick.
That place sucks. Your friends are boring.
Eventually, I just stopped suggesting anything. My friends started asking questions too. Do you think he's being honest with you? Is he really as perfect as he seems? But I shut it down every single time. I was in love, and love is supposed to be perfect, right? I didn't want to see the red flags for what they were because I was already in too deep. Month 8 is when everything started shifting. He began disappearing for hours, sometimes a whole day. When I'd ask where he'd been, he'd brush it off like it was no big deal.
Just work, babe. I've got a lot on my plate.
Then came the silent treatment, and let me tell you, that mess hit different. One night, after a small disagreement, he went completely cold on me. Refused to speak to me for hours. I apologized even though I wasn't sure what I was apologizing for, but he refused to acknowledge me. His silence was absolutely deafening. The next morning, he acted as if nothing had happened, like we hadn't just spent the entire night not speaking to each other. You're overthinking it. It's no big deal, but it was a big deal to me. I wanted to feel heard. I wanted to feel like I actually mattered. Then came the breadcrumbing, which honestly messed with my head more than anything. He'd send me a sweet text in the morning, then ghost me for hours without a word. When I'd ask why he hadn't responded, I was met with vague, half-baked answers.
I was busy. I didn't see your message. I'm sorry. I fell asleep.
I began to second-guess myself, to doubt my own reality. I would replay our conversations in my head over and over, wondering if I had missed something, if I was imagining things or literally losing my mind. My body started keeping score before my brain caught up. I lost 15 pounds, and not in the healthy I'm glowing up way, more like the I'm stressed out of my mind way. I stopped sleeping through the night. My doctor asked if I was under stress, and I laughed it off, blaming work. But my hair was falling out in clumps. I got stress rashes all over my arms. I started having panic attacks in random places like grocery store parking lots. My body was literally screaming what I wasn't ready to hear. Get out. And the financial stuff? We split rent, but I covered groceries because he was supposedly saving for our future, except there was no future. There was just me, subsidizing his double life while he took her to the restaurant I'd suggested 3 months earlier that he'd said was too expensive. The disrespect was wild, and I didn't even know it yet. One night, I came home early from a friend's party, hoping to surprise him. I opened the door to find him on the couch, his phone face down on the coffee table. When he saw me, he literally snatched it up and locked it so fast it made my stomach drop. His reaction sent a chill down my spine. Why was he being so sketchy with his phone? I tried to brush it off, telling myself I was just being paranoid, but that nagging feeling wouldn't leave me alone. The next few days, I walked on eggshells around him. I was no longer the confident, self-assured woman I had been when we first started dating. I was constantly questioning myself, wondering what I had done wrong, what I could do better. But the more I sat with it, the more I realized the truth. I wasn't the problem. He was. He was the one pulling away, playing mind games, manipulating my emotions to keep me right where he wanted me. But I was too scared to confront him, because I feared the silence would grow even longer, the coldness even more profound. One night, when he went to take a shower, I found myself picking up his phone. I didn't want to be that girl, but something deep inside me screamed to look. My heart was pounding out of my chest as I scrolled through his messages. At first, it was just normal stuff, texts to his boys, work emails. But then I came across a string of messages that made my blood run absolutely cold. A woman's name I didn't recognize.
Hey babe, I miss you. Can't wait for our dinner tonight. I was thinking about you last night. Hope you're free this weekend. I know things are complicated, but I can't stop thinking about you.
My stomach twisted into knots. I couldn't breathe. All this time, while I had been pouring every ounce of my heart into this relationship, he had been seeing someone else behind my back. I started digging deeper. His social media, his browsing history, anything I could find. There were pictures of them together, hidden in albums I didn't even know existed. Locations tagged at places he'd been that he never once mentioned to me. I was sick to my stomach, watching the life I thought we had together unravel right before my eyes. Of course I looked her up. She was 24, fresh out of college with no baggage, no trauma, no history of overthinking. She was everything I used to be before he made me this way. For weeks, I tortured myself comparing every little thing. Was she prettier? Funnier? More chill? Then it finally hit me like a ton of bricks. She wasn't better than me. She was just new. New enough not to see through his games yet. I wasn't losing some competition. I was graduating from his masterclass in manipulation while she was still in freshman orientation, completely clueless about what she'd signed up for. And you know what my first thought was after finding all those messages? It wasn't, how could he do this to me? It was, what did I do wrong? Was I not pretty enough? Not supportive enough? Not fun enough? I had been so conditioned to believe I was the problem that even with hardcore proof of his betrayal sitting right in front of my face, I was still blaming myself. That's what manipulation does to you. It makes you the villain in your own story. And you don't even realize it's happening until you're drowning in self-doubt. I spent hours thinking about how I would confront him. Part of me wanted to scream and throw his phone across the room, but another part was genuinely terrified. What if he denied everything? What if he twisted it around and made me feel crazy again like he'd done so many times before? Finally, I gathered all the evidence, the texts, the photos, the locations. I was as ready as I'd ever be. He came into the room fresh from his shower, completely oblivious to the storm that was about to hit. He seemed totally carefree, smiling like everything was normal, like our entire relationship wasn't built on lies. But I wasn't the same anymore. Something in me had shifted. Who is she? I asked, my voice shaking but steady enough. Why didn't you tell me? His smile faltered for just a second before he recovered, slipping that mask back on real quick.
What are you talking about?
His voice was too calm, too rehearsed, like he'd been preparing for this moment. I didn't waste another second. I pulled up the texts, the pictures, every single screenshot I'd saved. I know about her. I know everything. For a moment, he just stood there in silence, his eyes darting between the screen and my face, trying to process what was happening. Then he looked up at me, and I saw it. Guilt mixed with anger, like how dare I catch him.
You've been snooping on my phone? How could you invade my privacy like that?
I felt rage bubble up inside me. Don't you dare turn this on me. You've been lying to me for months. You've been seeing her behind my back, and you're really gonna stand here and try to make me feel crazy for wanting the truth? His face darkened, and that's when I saw the manipulator I'd been ignoring for way too long.
This isn't what you think. You're totally overreacting. You're blowing this way out of proportion. We were just friends. It didn't mean anything.
Then he pulled out his classic move, DARVO, which stands for Deny, Attack, Reverse Victim, and Offender. He told me that I pushed him into her arms, that I was always working and never paid attention to his needs, that I'd been controlling and suffocating when all he wanted was a little space. I watched him run through the narcissist playbook like he literally wrote the thing himself. And for the first time in forever, I wasn't confused. I was crystal clear. I took a deep breath and looked him dead in the eyes. I'm done. I've given you every chance and I've been way too patient, but I deserve so much more than this. I deserve someone who won't gaslight me into thinking I'm the crazy one. The silence that followed was thick and suffocating. He just stared at me with this blank expression, and for a hot second, I thought maybe he'd finally apologize, maybe show some actual remorse. But nope.
Fine, if that's what you want.
His voice was cold, flat, emotionless. No apology, no remorse, no fight. And honestly, that told me everything I needed to know. I didn't argue. I didn't beg him to stay. There was no fight left in me for someone who never actually valued me. I turned and walked toward the door, and for the first time in a really long time, I felt this tiny flicker of peace breaking through all the chaos. I was 25 when we met. I'm 30 now. 5 whole years. 5 years of defending him to my family when they'd raise their eyebrows. 5 years of turning down promotions because he needed my support. 5 years of watching all my friends get engaged and married while I waited for a ring that came with nothing but lies attached to it. The math hit me so hard. While I was busy building him up, propping up his ego, playing cheerleader for his dreams, what the hell was I building for myself? Absolutely nothing. 2 months before I found those texts, we had literally been looking at wedding venues. I had the dress link saved. I had a whole Pinterest board with 847 pins of centerpieces and color schemes and first dance songs. I almost legally bound myself to a man who was out here practicing his vows with someone else. That realization still makes me feel sick to my stomach, but it also saved my entire life. They don't tell you that leaving the wrong person feels like dying. Week 1 was pure shock. I functioned on total autopilot, just going through the motions. Week 3, I started bargaining with myself. Maybe I overreacted. Maybe it wasn't that bad. Week 6, the rage hit, and I wanted to expose him to everyone who'd ever met him. Month 3 was rock bottom depression. I could barely get out of bed some days. But month 6? Month 6 was when acceptance finally started creeping in, and I began seeing color again. Healing isn't linear, though. Some days I woke up feeling free and powerful. Other days I woke up wanting to text him, wanting to hear his voice, wanting to believe his lies again. Both can be true at the same time, and that's okay. Here's what actually helped me survive and eventually thrive. First, I blocked him everywhere, and I mean everywhere, not just Instagram and Facebook. Email, Venmo, Spotify, LinkedIn, everything. No breadcrumbs allowed, no way for him to weasel back in. Second, I told my people the whole truth. Not for gossip or drama, but for accountability. So when I was weak and tempted to go crawling back, they could remind me exactly why I left in the first place. Third, therapy became my lifeline. Not to get over him, but to figure out why I stayed so damn long, why I ignored every red flag waving in my face. I learned that my empathy wasn't a weakness. It was just pointed at the completely wrong person for way too long. Fourth, I wrote him a 10-page letter. Every lie, every betrayal, every manipulative move he ever pulled. I poured my heart and rage onto those pages. Then I burned it in my fireplace and watched it turn to ash. Best closure I never needed from him. And fifth, I started dating myself. Solo trips to places I'd always wanted to go. Solo dinners at nice restaurants without apologizing for taking up space. I learned that my own company wasn't just good enough. It was genuinely better than being with someone who made me feel small. I had to completely relearn who I was without him, because somewhere along the way, I'd lost myself entirely. Did I actually hate my friends, or did he hate them and convince me they were toxic? Did I really want to move to the suburbs and have 2.5 kids, or was that his dream that I just adopted as my own? Did I even like the music constantly playing in my apartment, or was I just stuck on his playlists? I had become a supporting character in his story, and that realization hit different. Recovery was about writing my own story from scratch and realizing I was always supposed to be the main character. I started rediscovering things that made me feel alive, painting again, something I hadn't touched in months because he'd said it was a waste of time. Reconnecting with old friends who remembered the version of me that existed before him, the one who was confident and driven and unapologetically herself. The most surprising part of this whole journey was the quiet rebirth that happened without me even noticing at first. I wasn't angry anymore, at least not in that all-consuming way. Sure, there were still moments of resentment, flashes of rage when I'd think about the time he stole from me. But I started realizing that holding onto that anger wasn't healing me, it was just keeping me chained to him. Letting go of that anger was genuinely liberating. I started setting boundaries, not just with him, but with everyone in my life. I realized I'd been so terrified of losing people, so scared of being alone, that I let everyone walk all over me. I let them define my worth, dictate my value, decide whether I was good enough, but no more. I wasn't afraid of being alone anymore because I'd learned something crucial. Being alone is 1,000 times better than being with someone who makes you feel lonely. And somewhere along the way, in between the tears and the therapy sessions and the late-night journal entries, I realized something that changed everything. I wasn't broken. I was whole. I was enough. I had always been enough. If you're reading this right now and seeing your relationship reflected in my words, I need you to hear this and really let it sink in. You're not crazy, even though he spent months or years trying to convince you that you are. You're not too much, too sensitive, too emotional, too needy, or whatever label he slapped on you to make you shrink yourself. You're not unlovable just because he couldn't love you the way you deserve. You're in love with someone who's straight up incapable of loving you back the right way, and that's not your fault. Leaving doesn't mean you failed at love or gave up too easily. It means you finally put yourself first after putting him first for way too long. I didn't win some big dramatic victory. I just stopped playing a game I never signed up for in the first place, a game where the rules kept changing and I was always somehow losing. And now, I'm building a completely different kind of life. One where I'm not begging someone to stay, not convincing someone of my worth, not shrinking myself to fit into someone else's vision. I'm becoming someone I'd never want to leave, someone I'm actually proud to be. To my sisters who are still in it, still trying to make it work, still hoping he'll change, you already know it's wrong. You've known for a while now, even if you're not ready to admit it out loud yet. The moment you started Googling signs of emotional abuse, or am I being gaslighted, you already had your answer. Your gut has been screaming at you, and you've just been really good at turning down the volume. Leaving is absolutely terrifying, I know that firsthand. But I promise you, staying will cost you more than you have left to give. It'll cost you your peace, your joy, your sense of self, your best years. The hardest part for me wasn't actually leaving. It was realizing I should have left so much sooner, that I wasted precious time trying to fix something that was never mine to fix in the first place. Drop a purple heart if you made it through to the other side. Comment "I'm healing" if you're somewhere in the middle of your journey, taking it one day at a time. Comment "I'm ready" if you're about to make your move, if you're finally done, if this is the sign you've been waiting for. You're not alone in this, not even a little bit. And I promise you, with everything in me, you're going to be okay. Better than okay, actually. You're going to be free.